All right, welcome in. We're live. Lester, you got a new background. What's going on, man?
I do have a new background. My laptop kind of took a crap on me. Got to get it fixed. So I'm actually out in my loft area. The reason I record in my room is because it's quiet and there's like no distractions. But now you might hear a dog. You might see a stupid ass cat. My daughter might pop up and make a noise. The mother-in-law is in the basement. She may come out and stir. My wife's at work, so that she's away. But other than that, it should be a fun, exciting show here.
Oh, well, all right. Well, off top, we should mention a nice little thank you to the homage. No, I'm not pointing to my tricep. I'm pointing to the
The
H and
guns.
the homage. I would say homage, but now I need to figure out how they pronounce their name. But real cool.
Homage, you know?
I mean, to me, I would pronounce that word homage, but like, hey,
It's French. It sounds cool that way.
it might be their company. They might have a play on that word,
Yeah.
right? You say it might be more like home gear or something. So maybe it's like homage or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh,
Well, maybe we'll have to ask for clarity of how they want us to pronounce
we
the name.
will.
But
We will.
hooked us up with some gear. Affiliate
did.
link in the YouTube if you want. If you want to wear what Lester has on, because I'm sure I just ruined the orange shirt for everybody. But if you're interested, there's an affiliate link down there. If you're thinking about buying this kind of stuff anyway, click on that link. That helps us out. That's cool stuff. I like their stuff. It's you're not seeing it on the NFL shop. It's just a little different. So anyway,
It's old school. That's why I like it. It's
Yeah.
got that old school feel. I'm old, so it fits for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of old, we saw an old style football game out of the Bears yesterday, wearing 1936 throwbacks and playing 1936 brand football.
I think we'll get more into that as the show starts. I believe I have a inkling.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of
Cat's out of the bag. I saw it.
showed my cards on Twitter today, but
That's okay.
what are you going to do? So, before we get going, like just odd conversations around this game. So
Yeah.
just, I didn't necessarily understand how to talk about it. I hopped on Robert's show. Robert sends me a text and he says, "Hey man, what do you think about popping on Bear with me?" And I said, "Well, I'm out at a bar with my friend who I haven't seen in a long time. What are we talking about?" His next text, as I'm sending that text, says, "I've asked like 10 people." So, I mean, what a way to make me feel really good is Robert saying like, "Look,
You're the
I've
11th
talked to
string.
everyone, everyone in my book, and they're saying no. Can you save me?" So I said, "Okay." So I said, "All right, man, I gotta take off." Got home and got into it. And what was interesting about the conversation with Robert was like he had gone down a path. Like he had already kind of gotten himself wound up. And it becoming Robert's sort of therapist at some point to kind of talk him off the ledge. And that's part of why I don't like going
Post-game.
on post game right after. That's the kind of the beauty of this show is that we get some time to think about it and kind of reflect. And so I was kind of curious, again, before we get into this, what you thought of the overall conversation on Twitter and on the website that happened in the 24 hours since this game ended.
It's strange because it's the Bears won, right?
Right.
That's a good thing, but I think, especially for us, we've kind of framed our narrative that this is a rebuild season. We are resigned to that fate that this is going to be a rebuild. We're expecting it, and the fact that the Bears are getting a couple wins here, I think we want to see the young guys show out, and the youngest, the most important, I should say, is Justin Fields, and he's struggled. So it's tough because we want that. We want to see Fields be the guy, and it's just strange. The development's not going along as we had hoped, but this is our favorite team's winning games, so I guess that's a good thing.
Am I running slow?
Am
I choppy?
No, you sound good to me.
Okay. Someone in the comments said I was running. So I don't know if this is a joke about me being slow or my internet connection not being great, because I mean, I am sensitive to the fact that I'm not the fastest runner in the world. So if that's what that means, you got me. But yeah, if I'm showing lag, sorry about that. But there's a huge construction project going on outside my house, huge like stormwater project. So there is some weird stuff that's happening. So I apologize if it's coming in and out, but we'll
get
go
through
from there.
it.
Okay, good. Well, you want to get in this?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Get back here. Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Berckes, a writer for Windy City Gridiron, and I'm joined by the editor of that fine website, Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. Lester, the Bears welcomed the Texans with open arms, took a 23-20 last-second field goal victory off of those Texans, and now they're 2-1. So what could be better than Victory Monday?
It'd be better if the young Justin Fields was showing out and showing that he's the man. But hey, this is how it goes. This is our favorite team is 2-1. That's a good thing. No matter how you slice it, it's better to watch a winning football team than a losing football team. So the development will come as the season progresses.
Yeah, it's interesting the conversation that's happened around this game. Normally, as a football fan, your team wins, you feel pretty good. Even if it's ugly, you're like, yeah, but it's ugly. I think that we have framed this season so much around the idea that this is all about Justin Fields, how he looks, what kind of answers are we going to get from that. And I think there's frustration that you're not necessarily getting the answers you want. That's for sure. And maybe you're not getting enough information to make a proper diagnosis, a proper analysis. And I think that's probably showing through in a lot of the frustration. It is a new offense. It is new pieces around there. There's a lot going on. We probably don't know even a portion of the entire story, right? Like we know just a little slice of it. But what we see is pretty frustrating. And it's been 3 games of futility for one part of this football team. And that's frustrating.
It is what it is. I mean, there's really nothing we can do. We just can, cheer for our team on I mean, right now it's all hope. I mean, we're hoping that the young guys show out. We're hoping that Justin Fields is the man. I mean, if Justin Fields goes this entire season and he doesn't show that he's the guy, I mean, now there's like a whole other year of a reset coming because now they got to find the guy. And I don't think anybody wants that. I think we all believe that he has the tools to be there, but I'm sure we'll get into more on the Fields report, but there's some bad tape out there through 3 weeks.
Yeah, if you're a hater, you've got some tape. We'll put it that way. All right, well, let's get into the categories. We start off every episode with the Trench Tribute, and this year that is sponsored by our partners and our friends at Portillo's. We've been giving out $100 gift cards every week. Though, did we get the last one out yet?
The last winner was Ryan Brandes. He commented on our YouTube channel. And like we're talking about, you can, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, there's the gift card. If you're listening to the podcast, send us an email with your Trench Tribute to secondcitygridiron@gmail.com. If you're watching us, wherever you're watching us, comment in the comment section who your Trench Tribute is for the week. And Ryan Brandes, if you're out there, you won last week, my friend. So, respond to that comment I left you on your YouTube. Let us know how to contact you, and we'll get that sent out to you.
So I was smart, and because the person who won week 1 took a while to get back to you. No, the person who won the second preseason game took a while to get back at you. And you gave me the address, and I sent it out like right away. And then you sent me the week 1 winner right after that. And I did not get that out right away. And then I thought, did I send that out? No, I didn't send that. Did I? Did I not? And I ended up sending them out, and I thought I might have given that guy 2. But I went through and I counted them all. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this happen again. I'm going to label them with the game. So this is Ryan's gift card that I'm holding in front of the YouTube fans here. So if you don't claim this, we're going to have to throw it in some sort of general pot fund or something. But
I have an idea what to do with that one. If it doesn't,
yeah, we've got some ideas.
Beef. Let's go.
All right. Well, Lester, it is your turn to go first this week. So who do you want to honor with your Trench Tribute?
I'll be honest, it's a hard week this week. The Bears, the running game was outstanding. The defense was pretty good, but when I went back and watched the tape, no one really stood out to me like
Yep.
above and beyond. So, I kind of watched it again and I'm like, man, left guard Cody Whitehair. That's your guy too. I'm like, he's just, I'm not thinking about him through a few games here. He's getting his job done. He's he's solid. I mean, I'm not sure what his grade was. I didn't have time to grade the film. Like I said, I was kind of when I do a grade, I usually have a guy in mind. I want to grade him. I think he's the guy. I didn't know who to grade this week. I wasn't sure who was going to be my trans tribute. But yeah, I think Cody Whitehair did a good job this week, and I think I think that's your guy as well.
Yeah, I actually had the exact same thought. Was okay, who do I want to give this to this week? I went through or watched the game, and nobody was standing out to me. There wasn't any sort of like splash plays or anything like that. I tried to focus in on, the offensive linemen, try to give them the benefit of the doubt. The right guard splitting reps, the center is what the center is. The tackles, I think Braxton played pretty well, but he didn't necessarily stand out to me. And I just kept coming back to like, well, Cody made his block. Well, Cody looked good there.
Yeah.
Well, Cody made his block. And then when I was diagnosing the running game last week, which I know this isn't last week, but I was doing that for Bears Over Beers, and just how good he looked on those run plays as well. So I think this is half belated celebration of Cody Whitehair. And again, he earned it this week as well. Cody Whitehair getting a double trench tribute from us. And this really kind of raises the question again of what was wrong with Cody Whitehair last year. Was it an injury that was undisclosed that we never found out anything about? Was maybe his head not in it? Was it really struggling with the center and just not getting off of his block in time and not feeling comfortable with working with Mustafa last year? I really don't know. I mean, I tried out a lot of those theories. Some of them work some of the time, right? I think the injury idea works all the time, but there was no injury report on him. So
Yeah.
I don't know what was happening with Cody Whitehair last year, but it looks like he's back to playing good football.
We have heard some stuff in the past about Whitehair, how he overthinks things. We've heard that early in his career. Sometimes he kind of gets in his own head. Maybe that was going on. I mean, it's tough to tell. Like I said, it's all speculation. But from last year to this year, like you said, he is much better. Do you want to talk a little bit about the right guard situation here? Or do you want to touch on that later in the show?
No, do it.
I mean, so Coach Eberflus comes out today. I mean, there's some chat going on in the comment section. That's why I wanted to make sure we talk about it here. Is Coach Flus said that Lucas Patrick had a nice week of practice. That's why he was a starter this week at right guard. And Tevin Jenkins came off the bench. And the way they worked the rotations, it just seemed this week where Jenkins had more reps, 60-some percent, the reps this week. Again, that's the way the drives go. You're not going to change alignment in the middle of a drive. You wait till the next drive, and then he gets his turn. I don't know, man. I just think Tevin Jenkins has been a better football player than Lucas Patrick at right guard this whole season. I understand you want to reward them for doing something in practice. But I don't know, man. You're already having the rotation, which is already weird as it is. If he's not able to snap and you want to do the rotation one more week, that's fine. I don't know. What are your thoughts about Jenkins, coming off the bench? I mean, when I watched him, he was fine. I think he had a better game this week than Patrick too. So
I really want Patrick back at center.
yes,
Like let's get
stop this charade,
let's
right?
get it going, right? Let's move into the line that you want to have out there and start to let that solidify. I want to see what I'm waiting to grade Jenkins on a full game, right? I
Yeah.
want to see what that looks like. So yeah, I understand that you're trying to figure out and navigate through a situation that no one wanted. No one wanted Patrick to break his thumb, but here we are. I just think that you're at the point where I think you need to let Tevin Jenkins have the full runway, and Lucas Patrick needs to get snapping, and hopefully that gets figured out with this. One more week of rest on the thumb is all you need.
I will say Mustfer has been better than I thought at center. This is not an indictment on Mustfer. I want to get him out of there, but I do still think that Patrick probably is a better center, better overall offensive lineman. But Mustfer has surprised me this season.
Yeah, I mean, if you're putting your top 5 out there, it's with Patrick at center and Mustafa as your top interior backup
Yeah.
or your top center backup, whatever. And it's not a knock. There's some other guys that are probably better suited that are getting reps, that are starting, that are backup guys, that are guys that you want for depth on the team, but you don't want them playing all of the reps or 2/3 of the reps, right? So that's really what it comes down to. It's not saying he's a bad player or anything like that. It's just a matter of let's get the best 5 out
Yep.
there. So hopefully this week will bring about that change because that would be I would like to see what the starting 5 looks like. We'll put it that way.
Exactly.
Let's move on to tweet of the week. I will let you go first on that as well.
Okay. So I tweeted out, during the game, someday I'll be able to watch my favorite team execute consistently good offense because, we all know how the offense looked in the game. And then Richard McConnell at RI Chicago 1 tweeted back at me, Gets, you need to find a way to get Justin comfortable. Sure, a good ground game is great, but some quick, easy completions will be great starting point, you'd think, which is what you see a lot of offensive coordinators do with young quarterbacks is they scheme them up some looks early. I know a lot of these coordinators they'll script their first 15, 20 some odd plays, and you would imagine there's some easy stuff in there for him, whether it be screens, bubble screens, traditional screens to the tailback, tight end screens, which we saw in preseason, just something to get the ball coming out of his hand in rhythm. Um, we haven't seen it, and maybe that's part of it, but at the end of the day, though, it's like the run game is so good. So you have to understand why Getsy decides to run a little bit more. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you'd like more balance, but they're 2-1.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about some of this, I mean, there's a lot of good statistical work out there that shows that play action works even if your ground game isn't.
Yep.
And that was my argument with the Matt Nagy era was it doesn't matter if you can't run the ball, which there were times under Nagy that you couldn't, and it just run play action because it's the play action fake of it all that the linebackers will bite on. It's not necessarily the fact that they're running the ball really well, so makes me step up. And what's interesting about a lot of the stuff that the Bears want to do, at least what they telegraphed that they wanted to do, was a lot of boots, a lot of play action game that brought Justin Fields out and around on a bootleg, and the defensive ends are all staying home. They're all incredibly and so that has to be a talking point in leading up to the practice is like, hey, we're playing the Bears this week. Justin Fields wants to run a lot of play action. He's going to boot out. You, under no circumstances, are to follow that running back. You are going to play, set the edge, and you're gonna wait for you're gonna assume that Justin Fields is running a bootleg here, because all of these defensive ends have been incredibly disciplined,
Yeah.
and that just doesn't happen when you watch pick a random football game. You're not seeing that, right? You're seeing the end crash down. You're seeing undisciplined play. And you look at how well the Bears are running the football, as particularly in the last 2 games. I mean, Montgomery had a giant game in week 2. Herbert had a giant game in week 3. In Montgomery's place after he got injured, you would think, just by basic football theory, that that would open up all of this play action. It would open up all this bootlegs because they're running the ball so well and they're desperate to stop the run. They are not. They are
Yeah.
not desperate. They are saying, sure, we'll give you that. We're not going to give you that bootleg.
Smart. I mean, at some point the Bears have to counter. What are they going to do to
Right.
counter that? Speaking of counter, are they going to come with a counter? Are they going to do like a pull to the backside with the guard and kick out that end guy that's staying home? You got to find a way to take advantage of that. And there's things to do it schematically, and I think this coaching staff will get there at some point. And but right now they're not setting the tone. Which what you want to see a good offense do. The good offense will dictate the game. And then the defense has to react off them. Right now, it seems like the Bears are a little bit more of, they're letting us do this, so let's go ahead and do this. At some point, the offense will get there, but they're not there yet.
Yeah, you could do a little short side pull with the guard and kick out that end. There's some blocking schemes that you can do
Yep.
here. We can get real nerdy about offensive line stuff at some point. My tweet of the week, I wanted to highlight our mutual friend, Luis Medina, who runs the Bleacher Nation Bears. I'm sure people are familiar with him and with his work. But he reported out that CBS NFL insider Jonathan Jones thinks the Bears could be busy at the trade deadline. Quote, expect the Bears to be active in the receiver market in a few weeks before the trade deadline. So the initial thought was this is a Kenny Galladay tweet because the Giants are not apparently happy with Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay is a very expensive player who has not done much with that. But I was curious to hear your thoughts on the Bears being active at the trade deadline to try to get a wide receiver. Is that just I can throw this out there and Chicago fans will eat it up? Or do you think there's anything real to this?
I think a little bit of both. I think Bears fans all see what's going on here. I mean, Byron Pringle went out with an injury. A reporter he was in a air cast after the game. They didn't update it. We'll have more updates on injuries on Wednesday. So, I mean, if Pringle's gone, that's one of your starters. They're still missing Harry. Darnell Mooney hasn't really, taken a step that we all expect him to take. Pettis, he's just a guy. I mean, it's pretty much Darnell Mooney who hasn't done a lot, and a bunch of guys. So, I think if there's a trade to be made out there that's not going to, cost too much of a pick, similar to the trade with Harry, I think the Bears have to explore it. You need another weapon or two out there, and they're more of a run first team, which is it's fine, but you still got to have some weapons.
Yeah, I'm looking for Smith Marset to get a little bit more play here. I saw him on the field a little bit on Sunday, and hopefully he can develop into something more. Get him some targets. I mean, 45 pass attempts through 3 games is not really cutting it for anybody. So I'm just curious. It's a weird. You expect the trade deadline to bring about contenders trying to add a piece to put them over the top, or to try to salvage something because they had an injury. So let's say the Chargers, the Chargers are 1-2, so whatever, but they just lost their left tackle for the year. You could see the Chargers saying like, hey man, we have deep aspirations. We need another lineman in here. We don't have a guy here. Let's go out and try to find a left tackle. That's what I kind of see the trade deadline for. The Von Miller move last year, right? I don't necessarily see it as this team that has won a couple games, but is not really trying to go, went on a playoff run this year, go out and spend some draft capital to try to find a wide receiver. Like that's a little new, but if Poles can find value somewhere, cool. Like let's see what happens.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's one of those things where I think the Bears are going to be more, if they are active, they'll be active as sellers. Maybe Robert Quinn. Maybe Riley Reef if a team is desperate for a veteran swing tackle. Maybe something like that could happen. But, at this point, again, it's got to be the right deal. And if the right deal comes around, I think Ryan Poles is always looking. I mean, he's a young GM trying to make his mark. So I think it's something there. He'll make a move.
All right. Well, let's get into the stats. I have some fun stuff. So why don't you start us off?
My number this week is a .333. And basically that win against the Texans was just the second in Bears history against the Texans. So their record against them is now 2-4, and that winning percentage of 33%. That means that the Texans are no longer the most successful franchise against the Bears. So do you know who the most successful franchise is now that against the Bears here?
No, Canton Bulldogs.
Well, I'm a current team. It's actually the Detroit Wolverines, I think, is the best. But of the current franchise, you know who the best team against the Bears is?
I really don't. I'll throw a guess out there. I'm just going to assume it's another AFC team, and I will say the Patriots.
New England Patriots. The Bears are only 3-10 against them in the regular season, which is a .231 winning percentage against. But that's regular season. We all know what happened in the postseason, my friends.
1-0 in the
1-0, baby. Yeah. So
and Bears fans have been living off of that for the last 37 years.
That's all we've had.
That's pretty much all they got.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. All right. That's fun. I remember that being a big deal 2 years ago. They were the only team in the league that the Bears hadn't beat yet. So they finally got that out of the way. Now that they broke the seal, now they're 2-0 in the last 2. So, no big deal. Now they're nothing. All right, my stat is 92 and 99. So in 1936, which is the same year as the Chicago Bears throwback uniforms that they wore yesterday, the team averaged 92 yards passing per game. Through 3 games in the year 2022, the Chicago Bears are averaging 99 yards passing per game. Now, I'm using the raw numbers. I'm not taking away the sack numbers, which you'll see lower numbers out there because they're taking away the amount of yards lost for sacks. I could have made that a more dramatic number had I wanted to, because it's like 78 and a half. And it would be lower, but they I they're not taking that away from the 1936 games. And so that's not really fair. I think it's just, the sacks didn't exist until 1982. So I'm not messing with that. I'm just using the 92, 99 to try to do apples to apples here and take it with a grain of salt. Let's assume that those are correct statistics. They're probably not the greatest statistics from back then, but that's what we're rolling with. 92 yards a game in 1936 and 99 yards a game in
It's
2022 right
just so
now.
depressing.
It's really, really bad. It is a really bad stat, but it's I kind of knew that we were gonna, this was gonna be just kind of like a, why are you laying it on thick here? So I did go down and I calculated that Khalil Herbert has 9 explosive runs on only 33 carries,
Okay.
whereas which explosive carry is any run that's 10 yards or more. Montgomery has 6 explosive runs on 45 carries. So that's 27% of his carries for Khalil Herbert and only 13% for Monty. So Herbert, again, these are all small numbers, small sample size, but Herbert's actually he's gaining an explosive run on twice as many snaps on a per snap basis than Montgomery is. So I thought that was an interesting stat.
Did you see I think it was, might have been Next Gen Stats. I always forget. It's one of those analytics sites. They put out today that, like 130 some odd yards from Herbert came after contact. Just running through people. He's hitting the hole so quick. He has good vision. That's what you want to see in this scheme. Is you want to see a quick hitter. And that's partly is one of the reasons why I couldn't find an offensive lineman that really, really stood out, is because they were just doing their job. And then Herbert would hit the crease and he would hit it hard and he would go. Yeah, exactly. It was nice to see that. And week 1, of course, Montgomery was, everyone, oh, Montgomery was bad. Week 2, Montgomery outstanding. It's just they have different styles, and I think both can work in this scheme. And again, Montgomery has the injury. They haven't talked about what it is. Coach Flu said it was a day-to-day thing, but who knows? Day-to-day could be a couple of weeks, as far as, who knows how this regime is going to treat that. And the last regime was everything was day-to-day, and it never worked out that way.
I think they can play together really well, right? I
Yes,
mean, I
yeah.
think that you can see a universe where they're both playing and they're playing well together, and they have different styles that allow, it kind of increase the sum of the parts greater than the whole, whatever that,
Mhm.
them together makes a lot of sense because they're complementary. So I'd be I'm hopeful Monty comes back and he's healthy and you can settle into a good rotation. I do think that carry split needs to be a little bit more equal though,
Yeah.
because if you've got a guy who is an explosive run waiting to happen, you got to make sure you get him the ball more often. And he showed you in this game that he's able to do that. I mean, 6 explosive runs is a heck of a game, and you need to make sure that you're out there. And that 52 yarder was a lot of fun. I want to see more of those.
Yeah. Do you have the numbers from last year's explosive plays? I know under the Nagy regime, there just wasn't very many, especially in the run game. There's maybe a couple, but I mean, I got to imagine they're already approaching last year's numbers as far as
So
the run game.
So I did try to find that, but the way I learned explosive plays is 10 yards for an explosive run. And there's other stats sites that will say it's 15. So that's very different in terms of stats, because there's a lot
Mhm.
of 10 to 14-yard runs that I would say is an explosive run that someone else won't. So there's some sites out there that had some information, but they use 15 yards. And I again, that's just not how I learned it. And so to
Yeah.
me, it's always 10. And so
I
I
like
don't
10.
Yeah, I like 10 too, because if you're running 10 yards, I mean, first down, 10 yards, I mean, that's an explosive run. So that's why I don't have that information, because other sites that do have it, and it's hard to find. There's not a lot of consistency out there. They always kind of worry about exactly what the information that you're getting is, because, well, we have 2 years of data. And it's like, okay, like why is this not recorded regularly? Right. But that's where I'm at with that. But the explosive runs were not nearly as frequent as we've seen them through the first 3 games. And the first game, again, it was in a monsoon. There was only 3 explosive runs in the game only. That's not bad, but relative to the last 2 games where Herbert had 6 in this game, Monty had 6 the game before, that's really impressive. And Herbert had 1 last game too. So that's there's a lot. I mean, Equanimous St. Brown had an explosive run, coming around the edge, 41 yarder, and then Fields had an explosive run as well. So, I mean, there's a lot going in this run game. So let's move to Fields. It looks like your dog got sick of this conversation. So we'll move to Justin Fields and do the Fields report here. Another rough game. It's been the talk of the town. 8 for 17. 106 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions through 3 games. He is only at 297 yards. We'd like to see 297 yards in 1 game, not over 3. And it's tough to, square what we saw in camp, what we were reading and hearing and all this stuff with what we see on the field through the first 3 weeks. So, where are you attributing this very slow, sluggish start to? Is this on Justin Fields? Is this on lack of weapons? I don't think the argument of the lack of protection is quite there, but is it an offensive line thing? Is it a Luke Getsy play caller thing? Is it a Luke Getsy offensive philosophy thing? Like where are you putting this slow start at?
I think it's got to be a little bit of everything. I mean, it's just a perfect storm of suck right now. Is really, it's just there all over the place, and it's 3 games into the new scheme. It's different than what he was used to. The last year under Nagy. We talk weapons. It's Mooney and some guys, and even Mooney hasn't, really, he hasn't looked the best. Cole Kmet hasn't looked the best. The run game has been there, and the pass pro. I don't want to fault them too much. I know there's the pass block win rate is out there, but that's really kind of a weird stat. That's more just like the distance, the time and the distance between offense, defense. They have these chips in their shoulder pads. It kind of, measures, where they are in relation to each other. So it's how quickly the guy can hold his block. I like it. It's a tool though. It's a tool number. It's not a be all end all, kind of like the grades are. So a little bit of everything. I just think that, this guy has so much potential. So I just think at some point we're going to see it come through, and, but he looked bad. I mean, those are some bad interceptions, really bad decisions, bad reads. Just he's got to tighten it up here, and it's a scheme thing. But for coaching staff, they don't care about development as far as what they're looking for in the future. They're trying to win games. So winning games is going to mean calling 30 some run plays. They're going to call 30 some run plays.
Yeah, you get into the heat of the game, right? The heat of battle, whatever you want to say. And you've got option A, which is not working well. And you've got option B, which is working incredibly well. Which button are you going to keep hitting?
Yeah.
You're going to keep hitting B. So you can't really fault someone who's trying to win a football game by saying, like, well, let's keep running the ball. Let's make them stack the box. And then maybe that'll open up something over the top. And they never really did. They never adjusted to that. They continue to play what they play. And if you're having success with it, we'll keep doing it. And then you get to the end of the game and you look back, and you're like, oh man, he only had 17 passes. Oh geez, that's okay. Well, that's not how you're managing a game. You're not saying, hey man, Justin only has this many passes and we're already in the 3rd quarter. Next series, make sure that you call 3 passing plays, because we need to make sure we get those numbers up. So there is some of that. I think that there's so many struggling quarterbacks across the league right now, right? I mean, let's lay that out there. It's not just 2nd year Justin Fields who's in a new scheme. It's future Hall of Famer Russell Wilson, can't get his Denver offense going, and he has Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy to throw to, right? Maybe Russ is cooked, but who knows, right? There's a lot going on in Denver that doesn't make a lot of sense. Jimmy Garoppolo's been to, deep playoff runs. He comes in, he's rusty. He knows that offense. He looked terrible last night, right? As he should, because he was, I don't know, hanging out. They wasn't thinking he was going to play. The other second-year quarterbacks, besides Lawrence, are all hurt. Or Davis Mills, right? Like, I mean, there's not a lot. It's hard to play quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And so I want to continue to just be, well, you don't have to make this decision now, and Robert, again, when we were talking on Robert's show yesterday, Robert was bringing it up, and it's time to panic. Where are you at with this? I'm just like, look, if anything, let's just give it. This is like a tornado watch situation.
That was a great analogy. I love that. Yeah,
you have some of the conditions are right for a tornado, right? So we're just putting a watch on it. That's all this is. It's not a warning. You don't have to seek shelter. You don't have to get into the fetal position. Bears fans, you all know about watching your quarterback. That's not where we're at now. We have plenty of rope here. This is the second year of a first-round quarterback that you've committed to for 4 or 5 years. This is what happens in this cycle, right? So you've committed to this guy. You'd love to know the answer by the end of the year. Let's hope that we have enough data to make that answer by the end of the year. But there's so much more season left. We're still in September. I'm still in short sleeves. Like, it's not cold yet. Like, it's okay. To me, don't hit the panic button. They are crazy low stats. They are worrisome in a lot of respects, but it's 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he stays healthy. I mean, there's 14 more games to go. A lot of football left to be played. They have some winnable games coming up on the schedule. I mean, did you see the list of quarterbacks they have coming up here with Justin Fields? I mean, yeah, Fields does not look good as a quarterback at all, but there's some bad quarterbacks coming up here. So winnable games, it could be a similar game plans coming up. But I was talking to a buddy, after the game, and Ryan Poles put this team together knowing what he had to. He had to, piece together. He has a lot of dead money cap. He knows that next year is where he can really make a big splash. So fans are all thinking, oh, they're going to tank. There's no such thing as tanking. Football coaches, yeah, they don't tank. Coach Fluss, Alan Williams, Luke Getsy, they're calling plays. They want to win the game in front of them. They don't give a crap about next season. They're trying to win now. So we're going to see this same stuff, and it's on Fields to prove and to show that he's worthy of more of these shot plays that he can do.
You remember that Macklemore song, the popping tags?
Look at you in the pop culture now. Look at this.
Well, you're the one that knows lyrics and knows songs. Yeah. But I heard it the other day, and it's about like going thrift shopping, right? I mean, that's the whole concept. I'm gonna pop some tags, right?
Yeah.
And it's like he's got $100 and he's trying to buy all these old clothes or whatever. That was Poles' off season. Like, he's popping tags, man. Like, he doesn't have much to go on. He did what he could. You can argue he should have prioritized something different, but I'm not going to outbid the Jaguars for Christian Kirk. I mean, I know Christian Kirk is playing incredibly well, but like, I'm not going to outbid the Jags for Christian Kirk. I'm not. He would have got killed for that, So it is what it is. We knew that going in, this was a reset year in a lot of ways, and on a reset year, your team has given you 2 wins in September. So, like, let's not freak out too much. So, all right, let's take a quick break. On the other side of this, we'll talk about the 3 Bears. All right, Lester, we are back. Let us talk about hot bowl of porridge, cold bowl of porridge, and the just right. So, couple of options here for hot bowl of porridge. We have to make sure that some of these guys get fed. Who you got?
I got 3 names listed.
Me too.
I wanted to. Okay, so we already talked about Khalil Herbert. You got to mention Khalil Herbert off the top. I knew we'd get to him at some point, but just a phenomenal game. You talked about the explosive runs. So he's deserving of a mention here in hot. So why don't you go with your next guy?
All right, so Khalil Herbert, just to put the numbers to it, 20 carries on 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. 6 of those carries were explosive runs of 52, 19, 11, 11, 11, and 10. He was just ripping off first down after first down in this game. Really impressed by his effort. Just looks like he shot out of a cannon. Curious to see what he can bring in the passing game as well if he gets a longer run here. But very impressed with Khalil Herbert and what he can do in this scheme. The second guy that I had written down was Eddie Jackson. I think
Okay.
we have to give some love to Bojack here. He had a forced fumble. Eddie Jackson had a forced fumble. So real heads up there. Johnny on the spot with the interception. I still haven't seen the All-22. I want to see what the end zone view looks like because he saw something. I think he
Yeah.
thought he could take it back, but he had a toe on the line, so he was out for a touchback. But Johnny on the spot there. But he looks so natural. He's back in his element here. I think he likes his battery mate in Jaquan Brisker, and I know we've talked a lot about Eddie Jackson in a good way this year, and I think that my point of bringing him up again is Eddie Jackson's a good football player. Like,
He
let's,
is.
you know, I
Yeah.
know that he got killed for some of the stuff that he said about tackling. I know that some of the things that he did on the field in tackling did not look very good, and he had some effort issues. But I think that he looks like he's bought into this philosophy. He looks like he's playing really good football. And that is, to me, that's really good for the Bears because if they can solidify the secondary, which there's some questions, but if they can solidify this secondary with some better corner play, it's going to be the strength of their team.
You mentioned the buy-in, and I think we kind of saw that happen in a training camp with, I think it was the first day you were there. He got called out pretty loudly by his coaching staff for not, doing the hits philosophy, not going all out, not going with the ball. They called him out by number. So I think that, that change, it takes a while. The culture of that takes a while to change. And, I think we kind of saw the entire, as training camp progressed, those defensive players, they really bought in, and Eddie Jackson buying in. He's an all-pro talent, a Pro Bowl talent, and he has a couple picks now. He has the forced fumble. He's playing more physical. He's being used a little more in center field. I think he's being used in different ways. I think we saw him again this week where they did a single high stuff with Brisker, and Jackson was the robber safety again. So it's like I think he's having fun playing football. I think he likes the scheme, and yeah, I think that's a good pick for the Hot this week.
You got another name. Keep going.
Hey, let's keep going. We got to go Roquan Smith. I mean,
Yep.
16 tackles. The interception. It was a tip ball by Angelo Blackson, but still, that was a great read by Roquan. Even if it wasn't tipped, I think he would have had a chance to get there. He was getting questioned a lot a week ago, and we talked about it on the show. It's his second game in a new scheme, second game as the weak side linebacker. It's different job than what he's used to in the 3-4 with Fangio, with those guys. So different responsibilities. He missed all of camp with his hold in. He wasn't on the field with his teammates. He's in shape. He's healthy. He missed all week with a hip, but he came out there and went nuts. I mean, he was scraping across the line and he was attacking, which what you want to see out of that position. So we had to mention Roquan Smith here too.
That was my third name. Did you have another one? You just
I
to
do have another
Keep
name.
feeding them. Keep feeding them.
Let's go Cairo Santos. I mean,
okay.
he won the game. I mean, he made a 50-yarder. The game winner was a chip shot. I mean, that wasn't easy, but still mental. Hey, it's the a couple seconds on the clock. You got to make that hit, but he hit a 50-yarder as well. So let's give the special teamer some love too.
Hell, he was my just right. So
That's okay.
So I agree. He needs.
I just had him here because of the 50-yarder. I mean, I think in his career,
nailed the 50-yarder.
in his career, he's like 11 of 20 some odd and over 50 yards. So
yeah, kind of low line drive kick there, was able to fit it in between the uprights, kind of in a corner. So yeah, absolutely wanted to make sure we mentioned Santos at some point. So cold bowl of porridge on the other side of this. I have 3 names learned for this one too. So who do you have first?
I just got one. I'm going to go with Coach Matt Eberflus and his end of the second half clock management.
Okay.
I was just not happy with this. It was horrendous. So the Texans call timeout. Okay, the Bears had a 3rd and 1, and Lovey's trying to get something going for his team, obviously, and it's on the 19. So you got to see what happens here. 46 seconds left, but Herbert goes for 9 yards. He rips it off. The play ends there. at that point, there's 40 seconds in the clock. You know, you could have took your time out there. Now you would have had 3 timeouts left. I just think there was a chance to do something there because Lovey already gave you basically a free timeout. You know, force the Texans into a prevent because that's what they're going to do at that situation. They're going to play a 2 deep shell, something like that. You know, Fields can work in the middle of the field still. You have 2 timeouts. You know, he has options. And like I said, Santos already made a 50-yarder. So you're only looking, you have to get about, 20, 30 yards with 40 seconds, 2 timeouts. I just think he was coaching scared at that point. I understood it when he was backed up against his own end zone. But, once he got out there, once he had a couple nice runs, play to win the game. Don't coach scared. These moments are important for a young team. Would have been good to see how they developed, and they would have jumped to the forefront and see how they're gonna take on that moment. Seconds left in the half.
Scared money don't make money.
There it is. I like that.
All right. Well, I think that we have to at least mention Justin Fields.
Yeah.
It's another poor performance. You need to at least mention that, this is a cold bowl candidate here. I also just had cornerback play, which to me was Kyler Gordon and Kendall Vildor had rough games. And Gordon, I don't know. They kind of went back and forth. Vildor kind of was rough to start, and then Gordon kind of took over the roughness. They got beat a lot. Looked like they're pretty confused. They need to kind of figure that out. Putting a lot on a rookie, in terms of Gordon, you're putting a lot on him to expect him to play outside and inside. That was what was talked about a lot in the preseason and in camp. So, hey, we love this guy's versatility. We love that we can drop him down. They talked him up, just how smart he is and how he's going to be able to handle it. He really hasn't so far.
Yeah.
It's been rough for him. Again, tons of talent. It's a corner. It is, to me, that is the hardest position to learn in the NFL. So I'm not surprised that he's having issues like that. That's not what I'm saying, but it's been a rough start. And to be fair, that's what this category is all about: is recognition of not a good game. We need to step it up. So I wanted to call that out as well.
Yeah, he's had a rough start to a season. He's had some nice moments, but he's had some really bad moments. So it's what you're expecting this out of a rookie. They asked Coach Eberflus today about it. I didn't catch who asked the question, but they asked if they thought he had too much on his plate as a rookie. And he said they'll evaluate it, but it's look at the roster. I mean, he needs to be out there. He's probably the best fit there. The fact that he can go inside and play some slot stuff is good for his development. It's strange because, who else would be in that spot? I mean, Vildor hadn't shown that he could do it. He's got to be outside. So you understand moving him in. Do you just let him be solely nickel when you think he's probably better as an outside guy too? I mean, you feel he's your best guy outside, so you start him there, but he's also your best slot guy, so you let him play there. So it's a tough situation. I think this defense of the secondary is maybe one more year away, unless it clicks, which it might click. I mean, he's a young corner. Who knows?
Well, and Jalen Johnson was hurt this game, so that really opened that up.
Hurts, yeah.
Jalen Johnson was quoted last week, about how he hadn't had any targets against him yet, and how he felt like when he was a rookie, he was constantly getting peppered with targets, and they weren't throwing at Kyle Fuller. And so he's like, yeah, it just is what it is. When you're a rookie, they're going to go after you until you kind of, get used, to the play and you step up and you start making plays. And so Gordon's going to see plenty of work.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to see plenty of work until he can prove that he can shut that down. Let's hope that Johnson can come back. That secondary is a lot stronger with him shutting down a side of the field. Whatever way you want to cook it. I mean, that's a better situation. I like Gordon outside. Poles had a plan at nickel. Like, he brought in Tavon Young to compete with Thomas Graham. Both of those guys got hurt. Both of those guys don't play for the Bears this year, right? So, I mean, maybe you can criticize cutting Graham and putting him on the practice squad and allowing him to get pulled on to another active roster, but they see him every day. They know if he's a culture fit, that's not a guy that Ryan Poles is regime drafted. So I'm not going to criticize him for that, because they may not just have thought he was a fit, but that was the plan coming in, was they had 2 nickel guys and they were going to let Gordon work outside. This was their third option. And it's looking like a third option right now, but that's because he's a rookie. I'm not going to be down on him. Kyler Gordon could be one of the best corners this team's ever seen. It's a 3-week start. So again, that's what this category is for. Just right. I've already said it. Cairo Santos for me, 3 for 3 field goals, including that 50-yarder quietly, right? Like you didn't even think about him when Roquan got that pick. You looked at the clock, you looked at the timeouts for the Texans. You said, okay, like this game's over. Like they got it. I had no worry in the world. Like someone on Twitter is like, oh, I was still holding my breath. I was nervous. I was like, I wasn't. We got
He's
Cairo Santos.
money. Yeah, he's been
Yeah,
money
he's
this
fine.
whole since he's been a Bear. He's been good.
So I had him there. Who did you have?
So, like I said, I was watching the trenches a lot. When I went back and rewatched the game, I watched it a couple times, and no one really stood out like, So that's why I went with Whitehair is steady, Cody Whitehair. But for the just right, there was another steady guy, and this guy on the defensive side of the ball, and I think he had his best game so far as a Bear. And that's Al-Quadin Muhammad. Just solid, nothing spectacular, but he had 4 tackles. He had a forced fumble. He played 61% of the snaps on defense, which I would still like to see that number come down. I want to see more Dominique Robinson, more Travis Gibson, but they talked about Muhammad's strength is against the run, and he's solid there. I mean, the Bears run defense improved over the Packer game. The Texans wanted to run the ball, and they did a pretty good job against him. So I got to go with Muhammad as the just right this week.
Yep, nice. And guy that's gotten kind of a lot of flack because the guys behind him, Bears fans are excited about. This is a free agent coming in with the, head coach, right? Like this is one of the guys that can bring the system with him.
They're playing favorites, right?
Right. There's a little bit of that. And it's like, all 4 of those guys are going to get a lot of reps. You'd maybe like to see the balance redistributed a little bit more to where it's a little more even because we want to see a little bit more on 99. I want to see a little bit more on 91, right? Like that's kind of what all the Bears fans are thinking because those guys we know are going to be part of the future. But good bounce back week for him because he had necessarily looked all that good.
It was like I said, nothing splashy, nothing spectacular. But you go back and watch tape. He did his job. He's the backside contain on some of those plays. It's his job to force things back inside as the edge defender. Did his job. It is what it is this week.
Well, let's get out of here. Anything that you want to talk about in terms of what's coming up this week on the website? Anything that you want to plug for what we have been doing on the podcast channel or on Second City Gridiron YouTube?
We do. You guys have watched me on the T Formation Conversations. Is my it's more injury report kind of thing during the season. I've had Mason West on with me, Dr. Mason West, giving a lot of insight. So Mason's actually going to debut his own show this Thursday at 5 o'clock, this afternoon, evening, wherever you are, depending where you are, 5 o'clock Central, I should say. It's him, Danny Meehan, who you guys who listen to the pod channel, you see him a lot. He's a co-host of the Draft Cast with Jacob and Fonse. He's done some other guest spots for us, but Mason's going to have a show. It's going to be focused on Bears injuries, yes, but also around the NFL. So you guys that like play fantasy football, gamble from time to time, make sure you guys check that out because they're going to talk about some league-wide injuries on that show as well on Thursday at 5 o'clock Central.
Good stuff. Got a lot of other good shows that are coming at you every week as well. Bill Zimmerman's always got a good guest. Taylor's killing it on Making Monsters. Really fun series that she's developing there. EJ and I are getting into the swing of things. We'll tighten it up a little bit. I went way overboard on my analysis of Dave Montgomery. I just got excited.
You're excited, yeah.
I got excited. I think that I can probably share this, that one of us is going to break down the other running back. And let's just say that I got a text that said I wasn't allowed to break down running backs this week. So for those of you that want to hear EJ break down Khalil Herbert, that'll be coming up in Bears Over Beers. It might actually be tomorrow night, not Wednesday night, because I have a conference I have to go to. So just stay tuned there. We may have to run this tomorrow night, and we may be conflicting with Robert's all 22 breakdown, but it'll be recorded for those of you that want to do the all 22 and go over and listen to us later. And then of course, it'll be released as a podcast. So looking forward to that. A lot of cool stuff. We're on the treadmill, man. Like every week, it's just, we just keep running, maybe take a swig of water on Fridays, and then we just kind of keep going. So a lot going on at the site, a lot going on Second City Gridiron, a lot going on the podcast channel. If you want $100 gift card to Portillo's, reply to us on Twitter, reply to us, reply to this video on Second City, send Lester an email at 2ndcitygridiron@gmail.com. Or make a comment on the website, on the article. We would post an article for all of our stuff as well. So just put it there so that we can count it up. I do Lester sends me, here's how many entries we have.
Yep.
I do a random number generator. I take a screenshot. I send it back. Super high tech stuff, but that's so that you know that neither one of us is trying to cook the books and pick who we want to win. So just it's on the up and up, but enter for your chance to win. Portillos, everybody needs a little more Portillos in their life. So we will get out of here. We'll answer a few questions on the YouTube, but for the podcast, thanks for joining us, everybody. And until next week, bear down. Somebody getting a fight in the comments?
No, just
man,
a little bit. There's a lot of comments tonight, though. That's
exploded.
Good. Yeah. You want to man the comments this week, or you want me to go through here?
Yeah. Well, we can both do that. Derek. Sorry. Go for it, man. I mean, here's what I'll promise is that we will start and end Bears Over Beers within the time frame that Robert is doing his all 22 breakdown. So, because that's like a 5-hour stream.
It is.
It's amazing. I mean, I don't know stamina.
What he's doing, he's tightening it up now. So you guys haven't watched it yet. His first hour-ish is more focused for Robert. It's more focused on a few plays. He's trying to get a little tighter breakdown here. And then as he goes on through the next, 3-4 hours, it's really interactive. So if you guys have questions about the game, bring your questions, because Robert will answer everyone's questions. He will talk to you during the breakdowns. It's a really, if you love the X and O's of football, you've got to watch that stream. It's just, it's a lot, but that's Robert, man. He loves that stuff.
Mason, I sent you the link if you want to pop in. Mason, we're going to give Mason a little tutorial after this so that he's ready for Thursday. But if you want to pop in and give a little sneak preview of your show, you're more than welcome to. You have the link. This guy loves you. I mean, you've already got fans.
It's look at that.
This guy loves you. I mean,
hey,
you gotta shut off your audio though, because I can hear myself reverbing back.
I loves you.
Hey, you gotta shut off your audio though, because I can hear myself reverbing.
Technology, and I'm the guy that sucks at technology.
How does the two of you ever put a show together? It's beyond me. But yeah, you wanna give a little preview of your show?
Yeah, of course. So kind of what we're going to look at, main base of it's definitely going to be the injury side, right? We're going to be looking at breaking down some of the stuff that happened during the last game. So, for example, we're going to be looking at Dave Montgomery, what happened there. We're going to try to see what's going on with Pringle. It seemed like he just tripped on the sideline or something like that. I mean, I don't know what that one is still kind of up in the air. But then we're going to also dive into some other stuff. We're going to break down, same thing, over-unders. We're going to look at some of the more fun things too. If you hate puns, don't tune into the show, because every one of the segments I have has a punny name to it. So deal with it. But I think it's going to be fun personally. It's just trying to kind of find that fine line between what can we find and break down from the game in terms of what we need to be looking at injury and rehab wise, but then also some reaction to the actual game itself. I'm going to have Danny Meehan popping on. He is a Chicago firefighter. He also is he's really into pretty. The work. Yeah. He is pretty.
Okay.
Workout.
I don't know if that's a qualification for a podcast. Otherwise, Lester and I would have been out in the game a long time ago.
Yeah, right. Big in the workout world. He knows his way around like what that looks like in terms of just working for himself to getting his body ready for being able to serve us in our community. And so having his perspective just on that is going to be great.
Yeah, we're excited about it. Excited to add you in here and get Danny in more regularly as well. That's nice to see, because he's normally just the draft guy. So it's nice to get him in the regular season. He also, I think he likes to play the meatball a little bit. And I'm not sure he is a meatball, but he likes to play it a little bit. So play with him on that, and those of you that are, gonna join in live streams or whatever, just, I think you can bait him a little bit. I think he likes it. I think he likes kind of being the meathead. So, fun guy to interact with. So I think that'll be a fun show.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really good time. I think we're not we're not against having a little contention, right? I think I like having the idea of playing the devil's advocate. He's going to do a good job of that too. We're going to have back and forth because I mean that's what a lot of this is. A lot of this is opinion based on stats, based on what we're seeing out there. So having some friendly banter and a little contention is always a good thing.
I'm going to run through a couple comments here, Mason, and then we'll do our little recap here, our little tutorial. But early on in the show, Chris said best graded offensive lineman. Again, I don't love grades, but I figured I'd put it up here. Tevin Jenkins, 71.7, tied with Whitehair. So it kind of goes to this like thought that Cody Whitehair has been playing some pretty good football this year.
Yeah, he's been solid.
And you know, worthy of being mentioned in this space. But also, let's get Tevin some reps. You know, let's give him the run. Hopefully, Patrick's good to play center, but we need to kind of move this along here, and hopefully the thumb is healed, and maybe you can address that the broken thumb issue. and if he's snapping in practice, does that mean that we're going to see this in a game soon?
So it's funny because I wish I could have been actually at practice. You'd be able to see more obviously. I mean, we all do. The thing that's tough. Apparently, it was a very limited snapping he did last week. It went up everywhere on Twitter and Facebook and everything. Like, oh, Patrick's back to snapping, but it was like a 5-minute session on a couple days. Like it was not very in depth. So it was a little misleading on that end. My thought process was if you're going to have him start to snap, he's back. But they're really stringing it along. So what that tells me is at least last week, they felt the hand was still not strong enough. It was not safe enough to be able to snap live in the game. And that's why he ultimately didn't. What it'll be interesting to see this week if we hopefully get a little more info and expand on that, right? Hopefully he gets a full live session snapping the ball, and that's going to more so show like he's going to be back. Or are they going to slow play it? Are they continue to slow play it? Because if you don't hear that, if it is again really limited, where it's 5-10 minutes, it's going to be the same exact thing. Musfer at center and that rotation at guard.
Well, they this last week they did not bring up Dieter Iceland, who was their backup center. So I thought that they were going to let Patrick start. The fact they didn't bring up a backup center told me that they thought he may have been able to be the backup center if Musfer would have got injured. He probably would have been there because Cody Whitehair, as far as we know, hasn't done any practicing and snapping in like 2 years. So you would think that it was going to be Iceland. It wasn't Iceland, so it was going to be Jenkins, or I'm sorry, Patrick. So hopefully this is the week that the Bears get their best 5 out there because they need it. They need to start building that continuity together.
Another comment about Borum. I thought about looking at Borum this week. Right now, I'm just not ready to dive into Borum. And neither is Lester's dog, let's be honest.
My dog's an idiot.
He's just not, the Borum is just, the conversation with Borum's not ready. Clearly had a couple plays that, stood out as negatives. You don't want to necessarily judge an offensive lineman just on a couple of negative plays. But, again, guy that has some struggles on certain aspects of his game. Certainly looks like he got bullied a little bit in pass pro. And so something to work on. I think I'm going to watch Braxton Jones for Bears over Bears this week. I'll probably peek over at 75 and see how he's doing on the right side. But work in progress for that. I mean, he's come a long ways from where he was as a rookie. But, yeah, pass rushers are starting to get some tape on him and figure out how to beat him. And now it's on Borum to see if he can improve that part of his game and stop the differences in the pass rushing that's being brought at him. What else? Any others that are popping out to you? There was a lot of comments there at the end. So there's like 70 comments like in the last few minutes. So I didn't know what happened there.
I think it's all just love for Mason. They're all excited.
Well, that, it's deservedly so.
Yes.
Hey, I'm just here to help the common man. I'm not a hero. I put my pants on one leg at a time.
Common man. The doctor helping the common man. That's good. I look at Sharp Football, but they don't have he doesn't have stats yet for 2022. So, but yeah, that's good to know there.
Go Bears. Goes to Judah Tribe.
Yep,
it's good. It's good to stay positive, man. I mean, the Bears 2-1. I mean, it's a weird situation. Like I said, we're not seeing the flash. I want to see it from Fields, but man, I'd much rather watch my team win a game. I mean, ideally, I want to see my favorite players do good as well, but that'll come.
Yeah, John, I get what you're saying. the presser, he obviously took his play pretty
Frustrated.
personally.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Justin Fields did not play well. He goes to his presser. He has the presser that he has. He's coming off of a presser where a lot of Bears fans took offense to what he said last week, which we never talked about in the show because I thought it was ridiculous that fans took offense to that. Dumb. Like, if you've ever played a sport, like, no one in the stands feels it as much as you do. Like, that is just fact. So what he said in that press conference was a fact. So he's probably already feeling like whatever he says is not, he's in a no-win situation, right? So he's in front of the press. They just won the football game. He played terribly, and they're asking him about it. And so he's being honest in his reflection. That's fine to me. Like, if he came out and he was like, doesn't matter what I do, like, the team won, who cares? Like, whatever, move on. He'd get blasted for that. Right? I mean, he's in a no-win situation in that part there, and he showed his emotion on his sleeve, and that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. He wants to get better. He's a guy that works incredibly hard. He's got a lot of fight in him. Again, if you're out on Justin Fields because of how he sounds in a press conference, that's your right. That's not me. That's all. I guess that's all I'll say.
I'm with you. I think he's frustrated. He wants to be better, and he wants to be as good as he can. And I just can't doubt him. I can't doubt him with his work ethic. I can't doubt him with, the tape he had at Ohio State. I can't doubt him after seeing what he did last year in that offense. And it'll come. It's going to take a while, but I really think it'll come. I can't see him being, a bust like some fans are already ready to write him off.
He's almost brutally honest to a fault where
right.
It's for example, last press conference, he talked about the pass to commit, right? And someone asked, ESB wide open on the side. Why didn't you throw that? And he straight up said, right, my first read is Cole Kmet. He was open. I made a bad throw. But people still then latch on to they don't even listen to it. Like, again, you're getting this stuff that a lot of people don't tell you. A lot of the quarterbacks in press conferences, they give you the glazed over answer. Like, it's really boring. He's giving you, like, that's my first read. The read was open. I threw a bad ball. Simple as that. So take it straight up and celebrate that this person's willing to tell you that instead of hiding.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm good with the honesty in the press conference, and, like, let's not blast him in social media because then he'll stop. Then he'll just become Peyton Manning and just say
boring,
all the night, the boring things. Bear down. Corey Booth says legal contact on Vilder was BS. So was the holding. Honestly, I thought the game was called pretty evenly as opposed to game number 2, which was not called very evenly. So, yes, I think that was a bad call, but I don't think that the refs actually played any real part in this one. I don't feel like it was this game would have been broken wide open if it wasn't for the refs. I kind of feel like it was played pretty evenly. It's only when we play that green and yellow team.
Yeah.
And then it's honestly, it's skewed every single time. Just drives me nuts. I agree. I think it's working. I mean, I saw it from the first few practices. I'm in on it. You see any more? I'm trying to do double duty here.
Another one from Corey. Just he'd like Jenkins over Bourne and tackle. I thought going into the season, I thought Jenkins would be a tackle. I didn't care whether it was a tackle. Thought I liked his tape at tackle as left tackle. The brief part I saw last year, but at this point, this staff, they see him as a guard. That's what they want him to be in. We've seen flashes of brilliance from him as a guard just early. Just imagine how much better he'll be once he's actually allowed to stay in that spot and not rotate. Once he can kind of really get comfortable and learn what the differences. And we were talking about a chat earlier today. The run blocking is there. Is pass pro still iffy? But pass pro takes time because it's a different type of technique from tackle to guard. He's got to learn that, and that doesn't come overnight. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of reps, and rotating is not going to get him those reps. So I'm okay with him at guard. Borum, though, that's another story. I think Riley Reef might want to get some run there, possibly in practice.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're trying to get your best 5 out there, there's probably an argument to be made that Reef is better right now, but are you evaluating Borum for the future? And at some point, do the coaches say, "Oh, we want to try to win football games?" So, I mean, that's what it comes down to, I think, with that. I think we've been pretty consistent since the start that we feel like Borum's best place is a swing guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can make a good living as a swing tackle in the NFL. But that's where we've kind of had him pegged, but it doesn't mean that he can't take another step and be a good starter. He's only in his second year. So that's nothing wrong with getting the reps and seeing what he has in himself. So we're gonna get out of here because I haven't had dinner yet, and we got a little bit of time with Mason here. So I'm gonna end this. Bears are 2-1, guys. So it's this is not a cause for sadness. This is a cause for celebration. So look forward to bringing you the rest of the shows this week and being right back here next Monday, 6 o'clock Central, for another Bear and Balance. We'll see you next week, guys.
Thanks, everyone.